So there's flooding in Washington. I mean, bittersweet moment, right? We've seen all this chaos happen in other parts of the country. Nature getting out of control, like we ever had control. I think what we keep forgetting is that humans have to survive in nature, and nature just happens. And I guess these floods, these overrun rivers, yeah, we call it atmospheric rivers or whatever, but it's gonna highlight some of the weaknesses in our infrastructure. It's going to unfortunately destroy stuff that was poorly planned. Building in a low area is probably, in the long-term scope of things, is not a good investment, because floods happen. So I guess not to be that guy, but I'm also kind of glad that a little bit of something is happening over here in Seattle, because as of 2024, our biggest issues was a fucking Starbucks, and what we order at Starbucks, and how to identify as a gender, right? Out of fucking 36 options. However, in 2025, some reality is catching up to us, where disasters, natural chaos, quote unquote, nature that happens to humans and is kind of a little destructive for us. Well, technically, the bad times is the only time people come together nowadays, right? We're just so self-obsessed with our own life, our own image, our own finances, and our own taste buds, that we forget collectively we still have to be able to survive the long term. So let's see. All that to say is, yes, disasters happen, but it gives people a chance to reconnect. There's nothing more bonding than helping one another. There's nothing more saddening and communal than common tragedy. And as a Christian, I believe God is quite poetic, right? So he is both a loving God and a just God. He is both in the nature, and he is in our in the humans. So if we were to link some of these bad times to the Bible time, to the Bible, we would kind of assume that the end times is happening, right? The times that's predicted in the book of Revelations, where 1/3 of the rivers and the oceans kind of swells up and becomes poisonous and dangerous. 1/3 of the animals, 1/3 of the fish, 1/3 of the mountains just is going to get destroyed in this world, right? So the good part is it's only 1/3. So out of 9 billion people, only 3 billion people gotta go for the end times to be fulfilled. That's a sketchy statistic. But if we were to also incorporate how humans just exist on this earth, and how earth has its own agenda, and how there's a maker of this earth, and how humans are technically not in control of quite a few things outside of, what am I gonna have for lunch? Where am I gonna walk to today? Where am I going to talk to today, So technically our ability is quite small, but our awareness is big. But our power comes in community that humans can do. simply because we can understand and communicate to one another, we are able to be communal beings. And so, despite all of the self-centeredness, I think some of these bad times are definitely meant to bring us together, meant to shake us up, and to kind of lean on the good and true type of things, instead of the trends or how I feel or how my trauma tells me I feel, you know. So I hope we survive. It looks like we're not too new to floods, to water. It seems like the Pacific Northwest is pretty suitable to be flooded. And so just stay safe out there. For the rest of the world that got earthquakes, that got tsunamis, that got volcanoes, that got huge floods, that got tornadoes, ice storms, just a whole bunch of other things that are happening besides a little bit of water in Seattle. Bro, hang tight. We just gotta survive. But connect, you know, back to the community. How can we together overcome these challenges, instead of, oh, this is happening to me and only me, you know? So I don't know what I'm trying to say. Oh yeah, there's a purpose to all this. So I think 2025 has been a significantly progress driven year. Yes, thanks to a few good leaders. No names specifically. Thanks to nature shaking us up. Thank you for the tenseness of war. Thank you for the threat of UFOs and the threat of aliens and meteors and asteroids hitting us. Have we changed? In the last year alone, we have addressed a lot of corruption. We have addressed a lot of crooked behavior. We have arrested and killed a lot of wrongdoers, right? So going forward, and having all of that be so worldwide publicly publicized, that I think there is no option but for our future civilization and for our kids to hopefully walk into a brighter future. And so all that to say is, yes, we see all this chaos happening, and chaos as far as natural disaster, and could it be related to God's anger towards this generation? You know, we have been so awful towards one another, towards nature, towards every which way. We have only self-destructed, and yet all it takes is a little bit of change in order for God to change his heart, right? To change his mind. If he was dead set on hitting us with some asteroids in 2024, but a few people changed and there was a small shift in awareness, well, what if we can change his mind about the rest of the chaos that's going to happen, right? Because loss is loss, permanent is permanent, you know? Are we ready to just be obliterated by either one another or by nature? Simply because we are not behaving correctly outside of the rule book for how we are to interact on this earth. That is a pre-designed game, technically, you know? So the thing about systems is that nobody talks about a self-destructive clause. Almost in every system, there is an underlying threat that a poorly executed plan will fail. A poorly run organization will fail. A poorly a poorly fed body will wilt away. There's a poorly run government will self-destruct. Everything self-destructs unless it's actively being worked on and improved by humans, because that's why we're here. That's why we have this awareness, is that we're the maintenance to this earth. We are instructed to progress it, to multiply it, and to maintain it. For the most part, it's all here. We just got to figure it out. I don't know why I was maybe it's the coffee, or maybe it's the flood in my area. But yeah, I think the summary of what I'm trying to say is chaos, natural disasters can bring people together to assist one another, and therefore reigniting the need and the reward of communal behavior amongst humans, helping one another, selflessness, hard work, purpose, all that kind of falls together when bad things happen to one another. And then, assuming that some of this could be God-driven, and we could change his mind should we change ourselves and just improve a little bit better. Whereas we were 10 times the piece of shit last year, perhaps we will only be 9 times, or maybe 8, or maybe 4, because we can always enrich our own life by the posture of our heart towards our maker and towards one another. Anyways, my lunch is over. Thank you. I don't know why I did that, but it felt cute. It felt like I'm an influencer, and influencers just do weird shit. Bye.